Welcome to The Price of Business. I'm your host, Kevin Price, talking to you about you and your business. Really excited about this guest. He's backed by popular demand. He was on just recently, and really glad to have him back on. I'm going to let my colleague, Chris Kidd, introduce him, but we're really always delighted to have interesting and engaging guest on, especially one with such an amazing story. But I want to let Chris Kidd do it. I jumped the gun last time, so I'm going to let Chris do it. But Chris Kidd, of course, he's a regular on the program. He's a co-host and contributor on the show, and he is his website is chriskidd.com. He is a great financial strategist and coach, and helps people and their businesses go to the next level. His website again, chriskidd.com. Let's get straight to the guest. Introduce our guest for us today, Chris, and welcome.
Yeah, my guest today, like you said, we're having him back since we ran out of time last time, but he's the redheaded bully, coonskin hat wearing Zack Ward from A Christmas Story, one of my all-time favorite Christmas movies too. But right now he's got a very, very interesting project that he's working on with Global Sports Financial Exchange, and it's the all sports market. Tell us a little bit about that again, Zach, and kind of get into how that works.
Hey guys, thanks for having me back. It's a pleasure to be here. Hopefully you guys all had a happy New Year.
Absolutely. Go right ahead. That's a great question for him. We're doing great. We want to hear your answer, though.
Okay. So, yeah, all sports market, the first and only stock market of sports teams in the world, and we've just hit $1 billion total market capitalization, and our Major League Baseball just went 5-1. So we're getting a lot of traction in the market right now.
I love this idea.
How does it work, Zach? How does it work?
Go ahead.
As far as I know it really is a combination of two things that I love. Is the one is the stock market and investing, and then two is sports. And to me, it's a lot better, like you explained us last time, as far as like dealing with either fantasy football or picking and betting on a particular game here or there. Explain that a little bit again on how it actually works.
Sure. So you buy shares in your favorite team. When they win, you are awarded dividends, and you get dividends every quarter for the teams that you have that win. When you lose, you don't lose your shares. They just don't go up. And a lot of things affect whether or not your shares go up in value. You can be a loyal fan of a team that has a history of kind of dying, but the reality is if you buy those shares now, and as the market continues to grow, those shares will go up in value regardless. On the flip side, you can work the stock market to buy shares in teams that have a high paying out dividend. So you can use that to just be generating money off of your interest in the game and the teams. And the other nice thing is that you can change your position with your shares on your team in real time while the team is actually playing the game. So if you start having some thoughts about who the next player is and you think they're going to do great, even though your shares are down, you can buy more shares because you've gotten them at a lower price. The great thing is if you go to allsportsmarket.com, there is a learning currency and a real money. So go on the learning currency. You get $2,500. It's basically monopoly money. You're then playing a game at that moment. So this allows you to just mess around and see how you like it without risking any capital. And then once you get your feet wet and you understand the way it all works out, and I think you will. It's very simple. And it's made to be very simple, although the work is complex. Once you know that, then you can go into the real market and you can start making money. So there's no risk for entry. That's the thing that's amazing.
You know what I find fascinating about this? Well, for example, I'm a huge Astros fan. Astros and Tigers. I grew up in Detroit, but spent most of my life in Houston. Imagine investing in them 4 years ago when they were the lowest cellar dweller, and
Right.
ESPN today is saying that they are now one trade away from being the greatest team in the history of baseball. So
Wow.
imagine the investment, opportunity there. So I love the
Exactly.
concept. And I had to mention real quick that something that was funny happened recently. I was talking to friends out to dinner, and one of them just realized that I was actually a radio host, and asked me some of the people I've interviewed, and I mentioned Rand Paul when he was running for president. In fact, he's a good friend of the show, and Robert Kiyosaki, author of the biggest-selling financial book of all time, Rich Dad Poor Dad, and hey, just recently Zack Ward, you know him. He was the raccoon hat-wearing bully in A Christmas Story. Of all of those examples, the only one that really got him excited was you, Zack. I just had to throw that in there. So go ahead with your next question, Chris Kidd.
Well, yeah, one of the things, and honestly, I got a lot of stuff on my mind. One is this might be a great time to buy the Cleveland Browns. I don't know how long we would have to wait for the return, but no offense, Cleveland, but I think everybody is there with me. They actually feel the pain a lot more. But anyhow, what is the liquidity like as far as buying and moving your money, and if you want to cash out on anything, or what's the liquidity like on the platform?
Well, when it comes to the learning market, obviously it doesn't really affect it as it's a learning market. When it comes to the pilot market, liquidity is fine. Everybody who's involved in the pilot, our next step is going through regulation. Because I think we talked about this last time, unlike what happened with Daily Fantasy, our goal is to become a fully regulated market so that we can operate on exchanges, New York Stock Exchange.
Would that be like through the SEC? That was another question that you actually beat me to my next question, was if it was regulated through the SEC, or if that's something that y'all are looking into. Or
No, it's not. What we've done is we've given our information to all our patents, and our financial technology has been reviewed by the SEC and the CFTC, and we asked for a letter of movement option. Sorry, I'm a little tired. For a non-action, and we're granted. And the reason we're doing that is because it is the process of, building up the company, building up the machinery, abiding by all the rules and law, and then turning around and showing the worth of the company to the regulators so that they can then put their stamp on it. So it's a funny situation where you can't get the job unless you have the experience, and can't get the experience unless you have the job. So we did exactly what the New York Stock Exchange did when they started, which is our pilot market starts off as a nonprofit. So we are fully abiding by every single law, federal and state, and that way that we can move forward to become regulated. And that's what we're working on now.
Zack, I wanted to ask you real quickly, I've been getting feedback on social media from your first interview, which has all been very positive, but, I didn't capture it. When did this get launched? When did the exchange get launched? And talk a little more about the history.
Okay. The exchange started roughly about 15 years ago. The concept was created by Ace Underhill and Chris Rabelais, and they came up with the idea about 15 years ago, and they're both one guy is a stock guy, Chris is a stock guy, and Ace is a genius programmer. And so they started developing this concept, spent years working on it, and in 2008, they were actually going to be launched in brokerages across the country. And it was set up and ready to go, and then the entire economy took a dump. So it was a lot of companies just folded and died in 2008, 2009. And they did not. They kept fighting to bring it back, and then going through to getting all the regulations, getting all the approval of the patents. We have like 178 patents pending in 140 countries. There's a lot of work that went into this. And so it was rebuilding it. Now, when the market actually launched, it was about 3 years ago. And we started with a market cap of $100 million, and now we've passed $2 billion. So that it's been operating for about 3.5 years. And it's really impressive to see how and exciting to see how the audiences have accepted it and fallen in love, just like you guys have.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay, Chris, literally 40 seconds left. We have no more questions for Zack, so you got to wrap up the segment with your final thoughts. 40 seconds.
Yeah, it's a very interesting platform. I'm actually checking it out right now. It seems very cool. Allsportsmarket.com. I definitely would encourage any sports fans to go check it out, and it's a new way of combining your investing and your love for the game. So go check it out, allsportsmarket.com.
Yeah, and I have to just mention the irony that Chris Kidd talked about the Cleveland Browns. Of course, much of the filming of the Christmas Story took place in Cleveland. You have to be very optimistic and to invest in that team, but, you know, it can literally only go up. You know, they literally had a parade celebrating their perfect season, perfect defeated, not undefeated, but perfect defeated season. All right, I'm Kevin Price. The show continues 24/7 at priceofbusiness.com. Zack Ward, look forward to having you on in future shows. You're a lot of fun, and you're listening to The Price of Business, nationally syndicated on the BizTalk Radio Network.